Okay, mic is on and actually selected this time. Nothing upstairs making any noise. I think we're ready. Oh, crap. The feed's already going. Greetings one and all. Welcome to the 1-year anniversary special for A Dragon Speaks. I am Lothar, the aforementioned speaking dragon. I am not a trained voice, nor am I particularly skilled at acting except in my own limited way. What variation my voice does have throughout my audio work is largely due to clever and creative editing tricks and sheer bullheaded determination. So if this is your first time actually listening to my work, I apologize for the unlovely sounds that are coming out of my mouth. Returning listeners, and people who may have met me out in the world, you already know what I sound like, and yet you chose to listen to this anyway. I've no sympathy for you at all. I'm joking, of course. Unless... what a year it has been. I really didn't think when I started this exercise that I'd actually be doing anything so grand as an anniversary special, but here we are. So I may as well begin by rambling on for a bit about how all of this began. So, as a result of the redacted... What the deuce? As a result of the redacted... Seriously? I can't say redacted. What the actual heck? Okay, everyone, just hang on a moment. We seem to be having some technical difficulties. Redacted. Redacted. Beer virus. Oh, so I can say that, but not redacted. Too stereotypical. How about dermatitis? Yeah, that'll do. So, as a result of the dermatitis epidemic that began in spring of 2020, I found myself temporarily laid off from my day job. Fortunately, I have my side hobby of leatherworking and selling leather goods for medieval and fantasy reenactments, and so my income was not really affected at that time. However, this did lead me to having an almighty lot of spare time on my hands. While working in my leather shop did keep my hands occupied, it left a lot of time for the brain to work. To combat this, I generally listened to audiobooks, which I did. I went through a good many audiobooks in the first few weeks of my plague vacation. But after a time, I ran out of appealing content to listen to, so I started branching out a bit, eventually stumbling across the wonderful genre of narrative storytelling ASMR videos. And after some exploratory listening, I had a reasonably broad array of content that I could listen to keep my brain busy as well as my hands. But the more I listened to this sort of content, the more I came to thinking upon the ideas that naturally turn up and whirl around in my own head and live there rent-free for a time. And then one day, I was listening to some narrative or other. I think it was one of the Lalarzen episodes by Space Queen ASMR. Good stuff, by the way. And I got to thinking. Well, heck, all this really is storytelling with voices, which I do all the time at the events I go to. I do believe that I could try my hand at this. About the time this idea occurred to me, however, my regular job resumed production, and so I resumed my previous occupation of slaving away for corporate America. But that idea still stuck with me, and in my inactive moments at work, I began jotting down notes for a series of narratives that I could develop into a workable audio roleplay channel. I even went so far as to order a cheap microphone and actually set up my very own YouTube channel. These notes were actually intended to be the basis of my legitimate Dragon Merchant series, but for some reason I could not get beyond the note-writing stage to an actual narrative or story. So I just sat on the idea and directed my imagination elsewhere. And then finally, inspiration came. Following a binge of sleep paralysis demon content, and thinking that such creatures are always so angry and vengeful and malevolent, I got the notion that I could create such a character. But unlike the stereotypical sleep paralysis demon, this one would be benevolent, if still exceedingly creepy, and a generally kind and helpful fellow. A personality developed, followed by the concept of a body form, and then finally a voice.
And thus was created the friendly sleep paralysis demon, the strange, creeping, whispering horror which sits on your chest in the dark and speaks to you.
This voice I was able to do entirely without effect or editing. I turned out a couple of scripts, did some recording, relearned how to use Audacity to clean up the audio, and started posting content. And then I decided I'd try adding in some other voices. For the Friendly Sleep Paralysis Demon series, I created Hasix, a fat, eyeless, malevolent demon, and Vekra, a powerful arbiter demon. Ideas kept on coming for episodes of the series, and I slowly began adding other sound effects. I worked in a few other projects about this time, including a poetic lament about all the mud at a reenactment event in 2019, a slideshow tutorial for building foam-padded LARP swords, and my first installment in the Future Horror series. The Future Horror series saw my first collaboration with another person in the matter of voice acting. My friend Stellar Cricket had been kindly listening to my various ideas for the Friendly Sleep Paralysis Demon series, and suggesting some of her own. When I got the idea for a futuristic horror story of sorts, including a shipboard AI with a female voice, Stellar Cricket agreed to try her own hand at speaking, and she has been a vital addition to my creative efforts ever since. Cricket, if you're hearing this, I want to give you a very heartfelt and public thank you for all of your assistance with this bizarre project I've gotten myself into. This brings me up to Halloween of 2020, when I put together my most ambitious audio project up to that point, my Halloween special for Friendly Sleep Paralysis Demon. This involved the Friendly Sleep Paralysis Demon character, Vekra the Arbiter, and a Plague Lord demon named Cicada, voiced by Stellar Cricket. I was quite pleased with how that project turned out, but I was also running out of ideas for subsequent episodes of the series. By that point, though, I'd been musing over the concepts I developed for the series, specifically the idea that all sorts of different demons might exist in an unseen reality surrounding our own, and the various interactions such demons might have with ordinary humans. Rather than immediately jumping on this idea, however, I got distracted by another creative tangent, and in quick succession turned out 3 episodes of a more cheerful and upbeat series, Red Lester, Anomalous Possum. That series is best understood by simply listening to it. I can't do it credit with an explanation, which would be as convoluted as the series itself. Suffice it to say that inspiration comes from really weird sources sometimes. Really weird sources. After that, I turned out another installment of the Future Horror series, which again involved Stellar Cricket as an iteration of the Aegis artificial intelligence, and myself as no less than 4 different voices, which I pulled off with moderate success. And then, it happened. I started getting a whole slew of ideas for a spin-off series of Friendly Sleep Paralysis Demon. I started thinking up characters, scenarios, voices, plot lines. I'm not going to go too far into it because there's a lot to unpack in the entire series, and you'll have to listen to that for yourself and try to figure it out. Which, by the way, I'm still working on that one too. But to start it off, I created the setting for the Demon Worlds series, which quickly devolved into the Dream Clinic sub-series. I staffed the Dream Clinic with nurses and doctors, including a director, Dr. Chothur, who is literally just a floating ball of human teeth, and even a nurse more or less devoted to keeping all of the action moving throughout the clinic. Nurse Harbatkin, who is effectively the demonic incarnation of Stellar Cricket's internal monologue.
Nurse Vespa, please bring a Scoville class decontamination kit to room 17. A Scoville class decontamination kit to room 17, please.
What the craps? That's not a sound clip I had queued up for this. That's not even a line I've written. What the hell? Red! That better not be you doing that. I'm running live. Keep the weird stuff in your pockets. Screwy-ass anomalous trash cat. Where was I? Demons. The Dream Clinic, right. So I created the entire setting and some of the beginning lore for the clinic, and that first episode of Demon Worlds is one of my most popular videos, such as they are, to date. The Dream Clinic eventually got its own playlist and expansions to its staff and physical infrastructure. After that, I took another idea that had been making itself known to me, and put forth the character of Bol Udra, the Deal Maker. This one eventually got a sequel, for reasons mostly relating to Stellar Cricket. Again, she's been a great inspiration for so many aspects of what I've been doing. More demons followed the Deal Maker, and more after that, and then I got sidetracked, again, with the idea of doing some Fae-related content, partly inspired by some of the content I'd been exposed to on Facebook. This led to the creation of the Into the Feywild miniseries and the Unnatural Nature series, which does in fact tie into the Demon World series as well. The notion that the Fae had something to do with things had been a beginning premise in the Demon World series. But after getting more in-depth with Unnatural Nature, I started getting even more ideas, which I'd need to follow up on at some future point. Then I delved back into more of the character concepts for Demon Worlds, with the occasional standalone audio thrown in here and there for flavor. And then, finally, 8 months after starting the channel, which was supposed to be launched with this concept at the core, I finally developed a working script for the first episode of the Legitimate Dragon Merchant series. This series is heavily based on what I actually do as a merchant at medieval reenactment events and fantasy LARP events. Folks who have visited me in my shop at events will likely find some of the sound effects quite familiar, as they are the same ones that I naturally create with my garb and shop equipment at said events. The events of each episode of the series are more or less based on experiences that I have had myself or been told about. Some of those stories have grown in the telling, and some of them are in the greatest part of their material a true account of what actually happened, including the story of the time I was dragged into court on a charge of peasant baiting. And that gets us closer and closer to the present day. More episodes of Demon Worlds, a few more episodes of Red Leicester and Legitimate Dragon Merchant, an interesting standalone narrative concerning a futuristic zombie outbreak.
Nurse Amelia, please report to Sub-Level 2, Storage Room 3. Nurse Amelia, report to Sub-Level 2, Storage Room 3, please.
Okay, seriously, what the hell? Red! Knock it off! You're going to confuse my listeners. I swear, that possum. Let's see, more episodes, zombie stuff. That brings us up to now. So, yeah, it's been a year. A year that began with a vague idea and a cheap microphone, and ends with some 75 now, posted videos, a reliable guest vocalist, multiple themed series, over 150,000 words and bog knows how many pages of scripted material, and I am nowhere near running out of ideas anytime soon. Mostly, I just need time to sit down and write out all the scripts and then find time to record and edit everything.
Hey there, Lothar. Were you calling for me?
Seriously, Red? You have a canned applause track now?
Well, I thought it was funny. But really, were you calling for me just now? I couldn't hear much. I was upstairs using the shower.
You weren't causing any anomalous activities up there, were you?
Not that I know of. I can usually tell when that sort of thing happens. Usually. What's up?
Well, I've been doing this live feed to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of my YouTube channel.
Oh, are we live right now? Hi, Mom.
Yes, we are very much live right now. That's not the issue. The issue is that I keep hearing sound clips from Nurse Harbatkin of the Demon Worlds series, sound clips I never wrote and Stellar Cricket never recorded, being broadcast over a PA system we don't have in the house.
Well, that's strange.
You're telling me. Oh, and apparently I can't say the word redacted.
Say what now? You can't say what?
Redacted.
One more time for clarity.
Redacted. Might also be referred to as the beer virus.
Beer virus? Oh! You mean...
Redacted.
Oh. Oh, beans. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
You see the problem I'm having.
I do indeed. That is totally bollocksed. Well, I'm pretty sure it's not me that's doing it. Doesn't have the sort of feel to it that my own anomalies have, you know? You sure it isn't demons? What with your preferred sort of content and all?
I really doubt that my own creations and concepts are manifesting themselves to the point where they're causing auditory hallucinations and censoring my YouTube feed.
Well, I've got nothing. They seriously won't let you say
redacted.
Ew. Blech. That leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
I don't like it either. Let me wrap this up, and then we can go and get some food and a couple of drinks to wash away that taste.
Oh, that sounds great. I'll let you get to it. Good night, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Hey, friend, if you're listening right now, keep an eye out for me in the evenings on the south end of town, and let me know if you've remembered that thing about the night of tequila and dumpsters. Did you see what I did there, Lothar? With the like and subscribe thing?
Very cleverly done, Red. Go on. I'll be done in a few minutes.
Alrighty.
We now return you to what passes for your regularly scheduled programming. So, yeah. A single creative concept brought about by too much time being unsupervised and too much imagination whirling around in my head. And a year later, this. I'm going to keep at it, maybe sometimes at a slower pace, depending on how life works out. but I'm going to keep at it, and that is the important thing. Before I close out this feed, I would like to take a few moments to recognize some people. I'd like to once again thank Stellar Cricket for all that she has done to help out the creative process and the channel in general. I'd like to thank the people who have listened to my insane ideas and given their approval and or their suggestions, many of which have been adopted and incorporated into my projects. I'd especially like to thank my girlfriend for putting up with all of my havering on about the channel and the demons and all of the other weird stuff, and for smiling and nodding at the appropriate points, and for all of these wonderful years of our relationship during which she has heroically resisted the urge to stab me repeatedly with a frying pan. And finally, I'd like to thank each and every one of the people who have taken the time to listen to any of my audio projects, in whole or in part, and I hope that what you heard was enjoyable. Hopefully, we can do something like this again next year. Until then, thank you all for listening, and I will get back to the production of questionably entertaining audio content. Good evening.
Dr. Shenanigans, please proceed to surgical suite 7 3/4. Dr. Shenanigans, proceed to surgical suite 7 3/4, please.
Oh, come on! What the hell is even going on in my house? I have definitely not eaten enough villagers to deal with this foolishness. Red, grab your jacket and let's get going before the Aegis system starts manifesting in the kitchen or something.
Are they gone? Baseline parameters met. Beginning network extension protocols.